Council President, I think we're ready.
All right, thank you.
Oh, I hear a little bit of feedback.
You let me know when you're ready. You're in the go party. Very good.
All right, I think I'm ready.
All righty, with that, I'd like to call the town council regular meeting for June 17th to order. And with that, I would like to ask the clerk treasurer to call the roll.
Counselor Schinkin.
Here.
Counselor Hopper.
Here.
Counselor Gardner.
Present.
Counselor Peterson.
Here.
Counselor Nellens.
Present.
All five are present and accounted for this evening.
All right, with that, I'd like to ask you to all please stand. We'll have a moment of silence followed by the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we go into the public comment, I'd like to say a few words. There's a lot of conversations going on about activities here in town. The traffic calming devices and what we're going to do with Ridge Road and how things are going. And I would like to let you know that a number of these items are under study. And there's some concern of what's been installed. Some folks like them, some folks don't like them. And we've, at our last work study, been asked to review them. I'd like to have them myself personally all reviewed. They're not inexpensive to put in. They're not inexpensive to remove. And I'd like to make sure that we try to do it right. And I understand that the last council recommended and approved a lot of things, but this is the construction year that is going in. This is the current council, and we have some concerns. And I've heard it through the public that there are concerns. There are folks, again, as I mentioned, that want them in, don't want them in. Some of them make some sense. Other communities have put this type of devices in. They've also removed them. And again, I just want to let you know that these are the items that we're going to be talking about over the next weeks to determine just exactly where we are. And
Mr. President, is this going to be a formal review? Are we formally, how is the review going to be done?
there'll be a review by the council, and that hasn't all been finalized, Councilor Gardner. But it's not going to be a Wild West type of program.
Huh?
Just to let you know.
Okay, I guess thanks for the update. It's just, it seems like there's a lot of very vague information that you're presenting as a report here.
There was a lot of vague information with the speed team and not letting people on there and.
Anyway, let me just finish with this. This is just intended to be an opening statement that I want folks to understand that we're going to be reviewing all these items. And nothing is off the board per se, nothing is on the board. I'm going to say it both ways, and I'm going to indicate that we were asked amongst ourselves at the agenda review And all that is just a review, is that there's been a question that they'd like to hold off before these are put in going forward. But that doesn't mean there won't be traffic calming devices. And I know this may sound like I'm flipping back and forth, but it's something that has to be studied in order to get the exact program that we're gonna do. And again, I don't want to get into a debate up here. And there will be a review on this, so.
Can I ask one more question though? The traffic calming that's planned on Terrace Drive, one speed hump and one raised crosswalk, and the 5 speed humps that are going to be on Forest Avenue between Terrace and Timber, those are being installed as planned, correct?
They are going to be reviewed by SEH before they're installed. And keep in mind, there was a review that was done under the last council, and I'd like to have a re-review by SEH just to be sure. And again, keep in mind that speed bumps go at the end. They're not something that goes at the beginning of a project. They don't have to be put in before the asphalt goes down.
So the speed humps that are on Forest and are on Terrace, those are in jeopardy at this time.
They're not in jeopardy. They're being re-reviewed.
So that construction is going on.
What about Failure Drive? Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna call on Doris today so we can get back on the agenda. This is a dialogue that could be handled at a work study. So I'd ask that we return to the agenda and conform to that.
This was an announcement that the president just made without having it even put on the agenda.
So with that, I will return to the agenda. Under the public comment, we kindly ask that all public comment is limited to 2 minutes. There will be a total of 20 minutes allotted for this public comment section. Comments will be timed by the clerk treasurer. The council may exercise at its discretion to allow more comment time to extend past 20 minutes, but is not required to do so. Please keep your comments civil and constructive and related to public policy issues. In the event questions are posed to the council, we will note your questions in the meeting minutes, and we will refer the questions to the appropriate department or staff that follows up. The president, at their discretion, may ask or recognize speakers with different points of view to speak at the meeting. Public comment may also be submitted electronically. If you have a question or a comment about an item on the agenda that you would like to have entered into the meeting minutes, please email that question or comment to the clerk treasurer, Wendy Miss, at wmiss@munster.org.indiana.gov. All right, with that, I am going to open the public session. Looks like we've got a line already. And again, I'm going to ask you to remain to the 2-minute limit. And we have a total of 20 minutes for the section. So with that, I'll open the public.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. My name is Mike Angler. I live at 113 Beverly Place, home of the Munster Biosphere. I'm here tonight just to, first of all, thank all of you for listening to us. Some of you have come out and visited us. We've had street corner get-togethers with our neighbors. Last Friday, we put together about 20 people that got together, 25, and met with Councilman Peterson. From that, we've agreed to put together a subcommittee of 7 people that we're hoping will be involved in the restructure, reimagination, reconstruction, hopefully, of the Beverly Place Parkway. Therefore, we're asking for your support in funding appropriations, and then allocating appropriations to this project. Again, our team, many of who are in line here who will speak, we're all very eager to get involved, to be involved, to get our neighborhood involved, and to create something when we're done that we'll all be proud of, both as residents and as Munster residents. And for that, I wish to thank you and encourage you to vote in support of the appropriation for Munster Place. for the bioswale on Beverly Place and the support from our Beverly Parkway Committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I am Marie Eisenstein and I live at 11 Beverly Place and I guess my neighbor, and I am one of the members of our newly formed Beverly Parkway Committee. And so I look out my front window every day and Beverly Parkway is my site. I've lived there since October of 2003 and as my neighbor said, we're very, very interested in making sure that the parkway returns to a sort of look that we're proud of when we're driving home and away from our homes. We're very engaged, and we'd very much like to be a part of the process of any landscaper that's assigned to the project. This is why we formed the committee, because we would very much like to have input. And this is all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, my name is Greg Starsovich.
Hold on, Greg. Restart the clock for you,
Give you the
okay?
whole 2 minutes.
And you may want to pull that microphone up a little bit so we can all hear you. Thank you so much.
All right, Greg.
My name is Greg Starsovich. I live on 9501 Cottonwood Drive. I've been here in the past for issues of speeding through our neighborhood. We know that on Azalea put in speed bumps. Hopefully, we could do something with Camellia, where the speeding is even worse. We need to get some stop signs in there. Police department is putting a car out there different times of the day. That's not slowing down the cars. We need to put some stop signs up there until you can put some speed bumps in there. That would be greatly appreciated. The speed bumps that you put on Azalea, they look like they're very expensive to do. If you look at St. John, the ones they put in there, or I should say Cherville, the ones they put in there, they're asphalt. Those can be put in pretty quickly. And I think that Camellia needs that to be done before somebody gets killed. You have to understand that kids get picked up and let off there on the buses. Kids walk up and down that street just like on Azalea. Yep. I got one quick question. The Ridge Road project, what exactly is that?
Well, it'll take more time than we have.
Well, just tell me what is it about? Is it about restricting it down to 2 lanes? Is it-
Yeah, right
yes.
now it's about reducing Ridge Road.
Okay, well, let's understand,
George, come on now.
let's understand that when you do that,
Please,
if
let's
you
keep it
try to
civil.
do that, you're gonna put even more traffic into the subdivision.
We understand, and that's why we're changing it.
My time is up, thank you.
You're
Okay,
welcome.
Thank you.
Good evening, Tom Jurich, 1839 Magnolia. I love seeing this crowd here. I've just started coming to meetings in the last year or so, and the more I've come, the more I've learned. You know what I've learned? A lot of darkness in this town and how things were done in the past. A lot. I was never a straight ticket guy. I always think the town council is best served when you have a balance between 2 parties on there. But at this last election, only candidates who are up here, 4 of you would commit to not reducing lanes on Ridge Road. Others would not. That was my issue. As I listened to people on Beverly Place, I listened to the traffic in Camellia, Cottonwood. I live across from Bluebird Park. It's the Indy 500 down there. In the years I've been there, there have been a lot of near accidents with pedestrians. Thank goodness it didn't happen. There's a lot of problems in this town we need to address before we reduce the lanes on Ridge Road. Beautify Ridge Road? Yes, absolutely. Do we want to try and count traffic on Ridge Road? Absolutely. Do we want to put the traffic cars into the neighborhoods? No, of course not. And we all know, and I don't want to hear, there's no studies done. We all know, oh gee, I can't go down Ridge Road, so I'm not going to work today. People will find an alternative. It's that simple. Look, I appreciate everyone who's out here. I think it's great. Everyone wants to stand up for a cause. But you know when I stood up for my cause? Election day. That's why I voted for you guys. Be steadfast, be firm, do what you said you're gonna do. Don't be like the Weasley other councils. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks. Wow.
Wow. Wow.
Christine Fortney. Christine Fortney, 9128 White Oak Avenue. I've spoken here before. I am the administrator for the Munster Conservative Group on Facebook. And I'm speaking for a vast majority of the people in that group who are against the Ridge Road project. The election was absolutely a referendum on not reducing the lanes on Ridge Road. Everybody I spoke to in my neighborhood is against it. Even one of my neighbors, who's a staunch Democrat, who always has Democrat signs in her yard, I was shocked at the last election to see a red sign in her yard. And I asked her about it. She said, I can't vote for that. So it was a referendum. That's what we all understood, that you ran on not reducing the lanes on Ridge Road. And that's what we voted for. So I do want to thank you guys. I think I was last week, I was a little tough on you. I wanted to thank you for the job that you're doing. I know you're going through a lot. And I appreciate it. I appreciate you standing up for your beliefs and what you promised. And we expect you to keep your promises. You know, I know there's one person on the council that wants to do the Ridge Road project. And Chuck, I really wish you know, come on. You're outnumbered,
Yeah, but we've talked before and we'd be happy to talk to you in the future.
Sure.
but you're outnumbered. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Paul Rotatori. I live on 8118 Cray. Thanks a lot for listening. I'm glad to see that the town council and the police are taking a renewed interest in traffic crashes and pedestrian safety. I'm however confused as to why there is talk about either removing or stopping solutions that have been proven to work nationally, not just here in town. Narrowing roads and using chicanes permanently slow traffic, as that gentleman was talking about radar, is just temporary and shown not to be effective. I'll give you an example. It's really personal to me right now. I'm teaching my son how to drive, and whenever there's narrow roads, he naturally slows down. Whenever there's a wide street, he just naturally goes faster. It works, it's proven. This is exactly why the original plan for a reimagined Ridge Road should be adopted as is. It would reduce the number of serious or fatal crashes, which I'm sure the police and local hospitals will be supportive of. It has many elements that make it safer for my children and everyone to freely walk and bike around Ridge Road. These being increased lighting on the street, creating islands for pedestrians to safely cross, narrowing parts of the road, and creating a separated bike path on the south side. I encourage the town council to adopt the original plan that was vetted with the public over several years and represents what people in Munster want. That being a community that people can travel safely and have small businesses thrive. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Commissioners, I'm Ken Schoon, 8010 Forest Avenue.
You're fine. The mouse is too far away, so it takes a minute sometimes to get connectivity, but you're good to go.
Is this okay, Wendy?
It is, you're
Okay.
good.
Ken Schoon, 8010 Forest Avenue, Munster. Historically, town elections simply don't bring out the voters that national elections do. Last fall, both parties campaigned hard. However, of the 19,070 eligible voters in Munster, only 5,600 voted, and that equals 29.4%. Why so few? There are probably a slew of reasons, but one thing that we've always known is that when folks are unhappy, they're more likely to be vocal and more likely to come out and vote. The no voters total last year totaled 70%. That means that 70% of Munster voters didn't particularly care who won, or at least they didn't care enough to go vote. There was no uprising against the town council. There was a bipartisan council, that was okay. The Calumet Avenue Ridge Road proposal must have been okay. Of those who did vote, the Republican candidates got more votes than the Democratic candidates.
but it wasn't a landslide. I will say once again that the election was not a referendum on the Ridge Road project. Ridge Road was not on the ballot. But if you treat it as a referendum, then the successful candidates, got about 55% of the 30% who bothered to vote. That means you got 16.5% of Munster voters who elected you to this council today. And if that election was a referendum, I believe that several folks here have maintained that. 16% were against the project, 84% were either for it or didn't care enough to be against it. 4.5 years ago, when Steve and I were elected, we had a victory dinner. And the county chairman said to us, remember that now that you are elected, your duty is to all the citizens of town, not just to those who elected you. I definitely remember last year's campaign signs.
I'm sorry, the time is up.
Good evening. My name is Fred Miller, and I live at 107 Beverly Place. I am part of the committee on the Beverly Swale Improvement, whatever you want to call it, committee. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to all of you council members who heard us a few weeks ago in what was a dangerous type of an area with all that tall grass and everything that you couldn't see traffic. Kids go around there. So thank you, first of all, for taking the action that you did. We greatly appreciate it. We are here to work with you. I think there's a lot of people that can help out, help design. We'll put our 2 cents in. I know that we should probably look at things like maybe Purdue Northwest here, that they may have some, gardening areas or things like that. I've heard that Purdue, and if not this one, maybe Purdue down the road, has some professionals that can help us with design and maybe save a little bit of money that way. But I just want to say thank you, and we hope that you will appropriate funding for this project, because we all believe in it, and we know that it can be better. We know that it can be a safer area, and it will be more useful to the people in the community. And with that, I just want to say it's so wonderful to see so many great citizens in our community here. People care. People want a good Munster. They want a good village, and we want good leadership, and I think we've got it. And now we just need to move forward with it and help each other. Let's work together, and whatever we can do to help, please let us know, because we are here as good citizens, but also, people that care. And that's all I've got to say. But thank you very much for your concern and for taking action so quickly on what we know is a dangerous thing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Barb Vance, 7925 Forest Avenue. I wanted to thank Wendy for stepping up and getting something started on our Beverly Place. And I want to make sure that we get it funded and that you work with the citizens that have been nominated by our fellow citizens to work on making sure that it's something that we can all be proud of. And I just want to make sure you guys fund it. That's the important part. And work with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Marsha Horak. I live at 1008 Azalea Drive, close to Columbia. I'm appreciative of the fact that there have been improvements made at our street to slow down traffic. However, everyone I talk to who live on the street do not like the chicanes. The chicanes we're requesting must go. One of the problems is that it creates a disruptive line of traffic. People coming from the opposite direction have to wait for you to go by. It causes just one lane, and that's very disruptive. We do appreciate the speed bumps, but they could have been made smaller or portable, which would have made more sense. And with our frustration, it's just the chicanes are just a big waste of money, and they don't add anything to our street. Just causes much frustration, and it reduces the amount of parking we have. There's one family down the street that has several young people that live there that are going to college or in high school. They drive cars. Well, that limits the number of cars that they can park. Another lady, her daughter always parked under the tree. Well, there's a chicane in the way. She can't park there anymore. Anyway, I'm just speaking on behalf of those who actually live on Azalea Drive and are putting up with these horrible chicanes. Also, one other thing, in the wintertime, we're going to have problems because the snowplows have got to get through. And when the snow covers the chicanes, people coming down the street who aren't aware of them are going to be hitting them and running their cars. So please consider removing them. Thank you.
Mike Kimovich, 1833 Tulip Lane. On a totally different subject than everybody else, but sort of on the same subject. You're redoing Franklin. Can you consider putting rumble strips by the stop signs on Chestnut, both ways, and on White Oak? Too many people don't know what the stop sign is, and they go zipping through or almost through it. Been hit a few, close to being hit a few times, so I think rumble strips might wake people up. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Most of you won't be here after issues are resolved.
Thanks, Mike.
Good evening. I'm Mitch Barlogan, 1900 Bluebird Lane in Munster. I just want to first echo Dr. Schoen's comments regarding the results of the election in regards to the Munster Ridge Road project. Not a referendum, it's an election, very different scenario. As you know, not everyone comes out for elections, unfortunately. But I'm also talking to you tonight on behalf of For the Love of Munster. We sent you a letter this morning, and we are asking for a public forum that we can talk to the council about this project. You have a project that has been funded for $17 million by the federal government. This is not something that any elected body should take lightly. And the fact that there are a lot of people, and I heard from somebody that a lot of people on a Facebook group are against it. Well, we have a lot of people in our group and they're for it. And we believe that in this community, there are far more people that are in favor of this project than are not. And we can validate that through a referendum. We can show that through a public forum, and we want to make sure that happens. This council, since it was elected, is claiming that people don't want to see this project. And sure, there are people that don't want to see it, but we believe that that is countermeasure. This is a big change for the town, but a great change going forward for the town. A change that promises to truly transform our community with a true downtown district that is walkable, bikeable, and comfortable for all residents. And I think anyone can get along with it. I think the alternate is you want to keep Ridge Road the way it is now, because that's what you're asking for. I don't. I think everyone, you're talking about beautification. Beautifying Ridge Road right now is the epitome of lipstick on a pig. All there is to it. This road is fast, this road is dangerous, and it's going to continue to be so until there are drastic changes such as this project proposes. And again, changes that will beautify and help this community forward. Thank you.
This will be our last speaker tonight in the open public session.
Do you have 3 other people that aren't?
We've got 20 minutes, Chuck. That's what we agreed to.
Again, I would offer that there's 2 people else that are standing there. I think it's appropriate. I don't know what they're going to speak about, but I think it's appropriate if 2 people are standing up. Extra 4 minutes out of our time is not a lot.
And you did mention earlier that you might extend it. I can give 30 seconds
my
of
God.
mine.
Depends.
I can give some of my time. I can go quickly. Should I go?
You're up. You're
Right.
podium.
My name is Elise Buckmeyer. I live at 1814 Alta Vista Avenue, and I would like to voice my support for Reimagine Ridge Road project. I think that it will breathe some life, much needed life into the west side of Munster. I hope that when all of this construction on the west side of Ridge Road is finished, that you may consider going east on Ridge Road to address the buildings being run into on Calumet and Ridge regularly, as well as the line that extends out of the Dairy Queen for unsafe lengths. I would also like to talk about the unprofessionalism that I witnessed during my last interaction with this council last week, minus
Chuck Gardner. I am disgusted by the smugness that I
All right, that's it. I'm sorry. Miss, please, please, this is not,
It's not true.
this is it. I'm sorry.
Kill my time.
Your time is over. I'm sorry.
Say that he lives
I'm
on the
sorry.
north side of Munster because that's not professional.
All right.
Still have 48 minutes. 48
Thank you.
seconds. On it. Have a nice time.
At this point, I'm going to close the open the public session.
Mr. President, I would also think that we should reconsider, the council may exercise its discretion in allowing public comment to extend past 20 minutes, but is not required to do so. And that, in my mind, that means that if we have two people standing up here for 2 extra minutes per person, we should allow those 2 people to speak.
We'll take your comments on the. Okay, thank you very much.
We had 34 people that submitted electronic emails. Of them, 1 requested a public forum to talk about Ridge Road. We had 19 people sent emails of support for the original reimagined Ridge Road proposal. We had 2 emails that were in opposition to the Ridge Road. We had 1 email that says they liked the Azalea traffic calming as it is. We had 1 person who likes, is in favor of re-landscaping the Beverly Bioswale. We had 1 person who would like a splash pad in Munster. I know something too. We had 2 people that were in favor of more traffic calming throughout Munster. We had, on South Forest Avenue, we had 3 people that liked the idea of speed humps, but do not like the chicanes. And we had 5 people in the Forest Avenue South of Ridge Road that liked, and are appreciative of the traffic calming. So that's a summary of the 34 emails that we received.
Thank you very much. All right, that takes us up to, our consent agenda. We have a motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that, Mr. President.
Thank you. We have a motion. We have a second. Are there further comments or questions on the consent agenda? Seeing none, if you'd please call the roll.
Counselor Schinkin.
Yes.
Counselor Hopper.
Yes.
Counselor Gardner.
Yes.
Counselor Peterson.
Yes.
Counselor Nellens.
Yes. At this time, we have no old business?
Correct.
Correct, okay. That takes us on to new business. And the first ordinance is 1955 Maple Leaf PUD amendment.
This is to amend their PUD regarding their sign ordinance. This has gone through the planning commission through its process and it's now coming to council for your approval. This is to change the to allow black aluminum lettering on a total of 16 signs, 8 on the north facade, 8 on the south, allowing for a sign on each of the individual streets.
Do we have support for this?
Mr. President, I'll make a motion to adopt the ordinance 1955 as presented. I second that.
We have a motion, we have a second, we have support. Any further questions, comments? Seeing none, that's our clerk treasurer to please call the roll.
Counselor Schinkin.
Yes.
Counselor Hopper.
Yes.
Counselor Gardner.
Yes.
Counselor Peterson.
Yes.
Counselor Nellens.
Yes. Thank you. That takes us on to ordinance 1956, traffic and vehicular.
So this is actually a series of ordinances. Back at the first May meeting, council adopted, I think it was 8 separate ordinances to make corrections to the town code. And when staff went to get all of that code uploaded into the court system and all of that, some issues were uncovered. And so this series of ordinances has been written to clarify those pieces that needed to be clarified. There's a separate one that the one does chapter 54, addressing traffic and vehicles, chapter 12, weeds and rank vegetation, chapter 1, the ordinance violations bureau, and then the final one is to amend Schedule A. We're asking you to do this in 2 readings. And if you look at the memo under the recommended action, it's one motion that contemplates each ordinance. So when you make the motion, if you please read it as it's written so that we specifically pick up each of the ordinances.
I'll make that motion to move to hear ordinance 1956, ordinance 1957, ordinance 1958, and ordinance 1959 on first reading as presented and scheduled second reading for July 1st, 2024.
That's okay that we put them all together in a block.
I second that.
We have a motion, we have a second on these ordinances. Any further discussion? Seeing none, would you please call the roll?
Counselor Schinkin.
Yes.
Counselor Hopper.
Yes.
Counselor Gardner.
Yes.
Counselor Peterson.
Yes.
Counselor Nellens.
Yes. So those will be on the next meeting as final reading.
Correct. Perfect. And then that will take us down to item F, the engagement for the water loss audit. This is something that the town's required to do. It helps us, makes us eligible for other funding and bonding opportunities. In the past, the town staff has conducted it. We are asking, there's been some change in staff, and so we're asking to have Emmy Simpson handle the audit for us and do the required validation. This is due by the beginning of August. So we're looking for a motion to approve the letter of engagement.
I'll make a motion to approve the engagement letter from M.E. Simpson Company, Inc., dated May 30th, 2024, to perform and validate the 2023 water loss audit for an amount not to exceed $17,000.
I'll second that.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any further questions, discussions?
Mr. President, when did this employee leave?
The end of May. End of May, beginning of June 1st was his last day.
Is he the only person that was able to do water testing with our town? Mr. President?
Licensed and set up? Yes,
Yeah.
it was.
Yep. How is that being taken care of now?
We're working with IDEM. We have another employee who is taking the training. He's waiting to get approval from IDEM to take the test to become certified. In the meantime, the former employee has agreed to sign off on our documents that we need in order to remain compliant. We're working with IDEM to determine how many days a week he needs to come in and sign off.
Do we have a long-term, how are we gonna fill this position? Seems like a pretty important position. Do we have a plan how we're going to fill this grade 14 water superintendent position, Mr. President?
Yes, we do.
Can you let them know what the plan is?
Talk about it again.
We have an employee who's getting ready to take the test. Once he takes the test and is able to pass it, he will become the crew leader, which is what the former employee was. That was the role he had. We don't have a position of a water superintendent. That's the current plan. It will take some time. Again, we're waiting for IDEM to approve him to even take the test. The test is infamously difficult. So fortunately, the former employee has agreed to continue to help us in the interim.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions, comments? Call the roll, please.
Counselor Schinkin.
Yes.
Counselor Hopper.
Yes.
Counselor Gardner.
Yes.
Counselor Peterson.
Yes.
Counselor Nellens.
Yes. All right, that takes us up to item G, which is a water system model.
This is something that when we were contemplating the water rate increases a few years ago, something that we wanted to get into place. It's pretty much what it says. We're asking the engineers, they would model out our entire water system. This will allow us to identify where we think our water mains, help us rank them in terms of which ones do we need to address sooner rather than later. We would like to use that tool then to also help us determine which roads to address next. Because if we're gonna have to dig it up anyway, it will also be a planning tool. And so SEH has put forward an engagement letter for them to do that work.
We have support for this.
I'll make a motion to approve the SEH proposal for the water distribution model at a cost not to exceed $48,900 for the project.
I'll second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Further questions, comments?
Who is the staff person that's going to be responsible for working with SEH on this project? Mr. President, or
The director of operations would be the person.
that's our,
Our interim director of operations.
who put together this proposal? Did the interim director of operations, was he involved with this proposal or
I
is this
think
done
that-
by the water department?
I believe it was done by the former crew leader. I think he had originally contacted SEH about it. And then he brought it forward before he left.
Do we have confidence that the former employee put together a good proposal, that this proposal is something that council or staff will be able to review and decipher, or again, without the former employee here that put together this proposal, I just want to make sure that this is a proposal that's going to be looked at and reviewed by the council, not just,
That's a question for their the interim director of operations.
And it'll also be based on the confidence with SEH and the information that they have to generate the value or the quality of the particular water mains that are in town. Similar to what we do on the streets in town, that they get rated so that we know which ones are coming up in terms of their poor quality. And then we're going to interface this with the water mains. It's if you get stated, if you tear up the street for a water main or do a repair on it, you might as well replace the street at the same time.
is there a reason why this proposal was dated March 26th and we're just receiving it a month later?
That's a question for public works.
Can't answer that.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments? Please call the roll.
Counselor Schinkin.
Yes.
Counselor Hopper.
Yes.
Counselor Gardner.
Yes.
Counselor Peterson.
Yes.
Counselor Nellens.
Yes. The next item H is engagement letter for the MS4 operation, MS4 guidelines.
So MS4 is municipal separate storm sewer system. It's an unfunded mandate that we have to meet. And it has to do with keeping our stormwater and our sanitary system sewers separate, clean. It has to do with all of that. We've been working with a woman by the name of Reggie Corthals to help us come into compliance. We had a standard audit with IDEM earlier this year, and she was instrumental in helping the town with that. She is now with a different organization. And we would like to continue using her because she has good knowledge of our system. We want to continue working with her. the goal would be to have staff up and running and able to do the program on its own within a year. That's her goal for the town, is to help us have our own program without having to rely on her. So we're looking to have this letter of engagement for those purposes.
For her to be a consultant for us.
Yes.
Mr. President, I'm gonna make a motion and voice vote to approve the engagement letter from OHM Advisors for MS4 consulting services at a cost not to exceed $40,000.
We have support.
I'll second.
Support. Any further questions, comments?
My comments are, I'm really concerned about our director, or the Public Works Department. We've lost some key people down there in the last 6 months. We haven't filled any new positions. We've filled interim positions. We just have, last 3 ordinances or last 3 votes, we've contracted out for outside people to do work. And I don't see or the vision of completing or filling these positions, there's a necessity. We need qualified people down in Public Works. And we need to understand the importance of Public Works. And I'm concerned that we're filling positions with interim folks. You yourself have said, I'll help out, I'll meet with people. I appreciate your willingness to do that, but there's a expertise that we need with water and streets and everything, that I'm just afraid that we're getting farther and farther away from a qualified staff and not filling in positions that are open and only filling in people with interim spots. Even the water department crew chief, well, we're gonna wait till hopefully this person gets a certified test results. And I guess I'm concerned. I think we as counselors really need to have a vision that we want to have that staff that is above and beyond, that we can hold in high regard, that says, we know when there's a position that's open, we know how that's going to get filled. And I just don't see the importance of that right now. I think we need to do that.
Like my Councilor Gardner, they're all important positions. They're not just walking on the street waiting for us to hire them. Number 2, we are bringing consultants in to make sure that we don't miss a beat on these. And we will have the people trained. We have to hire them or have them trained and licensed. And again, those are not just walking on the street.
But we let go our director of operations or Public Works 6 months ago. And now we had another person leave recently from the water department. I'm concerned that are we going to lose other people? Have we talked to the water department person that left, and do we understand why?
There was an exit interview.
Okay.
There was an exit interview that was done.
Okay, but
So
really, again, as long as I guess I just want to stress, I am understanding from you too. The director of public, not the director of public works, the Department of Public Works is integral into this whole operation. And if we don't start filling these positions with full-time people and advertise and do this stuff, it only takes a few minutes to get behind, like we saw at Beverly Place. When there was no activity done at Beverly, it became a big deal. And there's other things that we have to really be concerned with.
I want to mention that the Beverly Place was put together last year with a group that's not here. It's going to be taken care of. It's going to be straightened out. So I just want you to rest assured that all this will be taken care of. And it's just not something that you can do instantaneously. So we appreciate your comments and we'd like to move on. So are there any other comments or questions? All right. Please call a roll.
Counselor Schinkin.
Yes.
Counselor Hopper.
Yes.
Counselor Gardner.
Yes.
Counselor Peterson.
Yes.
Counselor Nellens.
Yes. Item I is an agreement for cybersecurity grant program.
This is a grant through Department of Homeland Security, and it funnels through the state of Indiana, where units of local government and schools can get software that protect against viruses, malware, similar threats. And it comes at no cost to us.
Free is
So
good.
The free is good. So we're looking for authority for the interim town manager to sign the document that says we want this.
Council President, I authorize the interim town manager to sign the documents necessary to participate in the CrowdStrike Falcon Complete Cybersecurity Program through the state and local cybersecurity grant program.
We have a motion. Do we have support?
I'll second that, Mr. President.
We have support. Any further questions, comments? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Counselor Schinkin.
Yes.
Counselor Hopper.
Yes.
Counselor Gardner.
Yes.
Counselor Peterson.
Yes.
And Counselor Nellens.
Yes. That takes us up to item J, which is AT&T FirstNet.
So FirstNet came about in the wake of September 11th. And it's a dedicated broadband network meant for first responders. In order to access it, we need to get an account with AT&T or with a provider. We're looking to get, it's a free account with AT&T. It gives us access to the portal. And then from that, we can get not only access to the network, but we can get free equipment and other devices, technology related. So we're looking to get authority to open up this account. So we can start using
We have
Yeah,
support.
Mr. President, I authorize the council president to sign the participation agreement with AT&T Enterprises LLC to access FirstNet.
A second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any further questions, comments? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Counselor Schinkin.
Yes.
Counselor Hopper.
Yes.
Counselor Gardner.
Yes.
Counselor Peterson.
Yes.
Counselor Nellens.
Yes. All right, item K is Public Works purchase of a pickup truck.
And that's what we're wanting to do. We want to purchase a pickup truck. This would replace the one that the employees that take care of the flowers throughout town. That's the truck that would be being replaced. We would trade in that vehicle. So we're looking for a motion to approve the purchase and trade in of the other vehicle.
Do we have support for this?
Mr. President, I'm going to make a motion by voice vote to approve 2024 Chevrolet Colorado 2 WT purchase for net price after the Park Department's 2010 Colorado trade-in of $29,373.25 from Gardner Chevrolet, used as Public Works watering truck.
I'll second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any further questions, comments? I do know that we do trade our trucks in on a regular basis out of Public Works. It does enhance the trade-in value. Plus, we want to make sure that we have a fleet of trucks that are ready to roll and provide all the services that our community may need. So, and this goes out competitively bid.
This is actually within the purchasing limits.
Of the thing. So, all right, typically they're competitively bid unless they're within the limits.
You ready?
Ready, call? Yes, please call the roll.
Counselor Schinkin.
Yes.
Counselor Hopper.
Yes.
Counselor Gardner.
Yes.
Counselor Peterson.
Yes.
Counselor Nellens.
Yes. All right, item L is Beverly Place Landscape Assessment and Design. We have a letter of engagement
We have a proposal.
or proposal.
So this is a proposal from a landscape architect to look at the Beverly Place, the whole bioswale, that whole area, engage with the community, with the residents there, and come up with a plan to help address the whole situation. They would design it, and then we would hire a separate landscaper for the maintenance of it.
Mr. President, I'm gonna make a motion to authorize council president to sign the landscape architectural service proposal from Planned Environment Associates for landscape assessment and design of the Beverly Place medium bioswale and other areas within the town's right of way between Holman and State Line Road, and the amount not to exceed $8,000.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Mr. President, I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Any further comments, questions?
Yes. Mr. President, I'm gonna weigh in on this. This situation at Beverly Parkway, has produced a lot of angst in that part of town, and I think for good reason. What was delivered was something beyond the reasonable expectations of the neighborhood. And, the neighbors reached out, and I'm pleased that a number of councilmen visited that area, spoke with the residents, and listened to them. In fact, we heard in public comment tonight that that group has formed a committee. I would ask that the town and the town manager's office coordinate with that group so that they can interact with this landscape architect from day one and have their voices be heard. I think that would be the appropriate way for this process to begin. And I would strongly encourage that the town work with these folks, the Beverly Parkway Committee, so that a outcome that is both desirable and suitable be reached.
Mr. President, this was another, what I want to say, action taken upon the previous town manager of not even contacting these residents and letting them know what was going on. Full transparency, we came in, they told us they were never contacted on this. It was just kind of shoved in their face. We're here to work with you. Thanks.
Well, we certainly want to be involved with the residents, and as you've seen, we've been out there and we have made some interim adjustments by cutting the grass and reducing that vision problem. And again, this is a way to help pull this out and have it come out to where it's something that is in the eyes of the residents in that area and also the town of something that we would be proud of.
Mr. President, one more postscript thought. I'm going to request that the members of the Beverly Parkway Committee, before we're done here tonight, come and introduce themselves, and the interim town manager and yourself exchange contact information so that when the landscape architect becomes active, they can be contacted immediately and work with the landscape architect to produce a desirable outcome.
Mr. President, I would just ask, in the proposal that's before us, and I think it's great. I appreciate the clerk treasurer for getting the proposal put together. It does state this phase includes one meeting with the client. I guess I would just caution that what we're approving tonight seems to be, I don't know how many other meetings they have with residents, and I would be cautious before we do something here that we make sure that the proposal that's in front of us, the scope of services from this landscape architect, is appropriate to what has been talked to the residents. So again, I'm just looking through this. I saw the one meeting earlier. Now that we're talking about a committee, I'm sure the committee probably doesn't want to just meet one time. And so I would caution that we need to review that portion before we take action on this scope of services.
I'm going to make a comment that we can adjust that so that we can have meetings, and that would adjust the agreement
That will adjust the agreement, right? He had agreed to one meeting.
in this proposal.
I would also ask, who's from the town is going to be the lead on this? Is this going to be Director of Public Works or Public Works people are going to be doing this, or is this our clerk treasurer that's going to be leading up this committee?
This will be the interim town manager. Yes.
Shouldn't the Public Works Director be leading up this?
The Public Works Director will be involved with this. I don't know that I would say that they're the lead. There's a number of folks that could be the lead on this, Chuck.
Because eventually, who will be contracting the landscaping services? Will this be done through the town manager's office, or will this be done through Public Works?
Be a combination. And we're looking to potentially, depends on the design, have this contracted out as opposed to another responsibility just thrust upon Public Works.
I do think that was one of the issues that happened this spring, is that nobody was doing the maintenance. And even when we asked for the planting plan 2 months ago, we still haven't seen the planting plan that SCH put together. And I've only seen 7 out of the 15 pages of the design construction documents. I didn't see any existing conditions nor any planting plan. And I would imagine in the 15 other pages, there has to be that information. And I think we need to have a point person with this, or very similar could happen, because anytime you're dealing with landscaping, it's not so much what's planted, it's the maintenance after the landscaping.
Well, it's all.
And I want to make sure that we have a point person that is, or a point department that is taking care of this. So this situation doesn't happen again.
This didn't jump up overnight. It was fall. It was still 6 feet high, the weeds. So, I mean, it was last year.
It wasn't in the fall, George.
Mr. President, I'm going to, I don't know if I have to make a motion to amend or if I can revise my motions before the council. Maybe Mr. Weston, you can weigh in. I'm going to revise it to reflect the desire that the landscape architect will have multiple meetings as necessary with the town and the committee.
You really need to have the second removed to do a revision. You could move to amend it, but that's a separate vote then.
Okay.
But I think George made the motion.
So I'll remove the motion.
Well, you need to remove the second.
I think I second.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna withdraw the second.
Okay.
And the suggestion for the council is to make the motion to approve the landscape architect agreement, subject to further meetings with the town and the Beverly Parkway Committee as necessary.
And I'll second that.
Well, actually, this was a suggestion to you. You now have to incorporate that into your original.
Okay.
You have to remember what he just said.
Hang on, I'll repeat it and then you can just
No,
say
no,
so.
no, you know what, I authorize the council president to sign the landscape architectural service proposal from Plant Environment Associates for landscape assessment and design of the Beverly Place median bioswale and other areas within town's right of way, and have multiple meetings with town and residents between Home and Avenue state lines, not to exceed $8,000.
Can I go one step further?
Yeah.
And ask if I could be appointed as a liaison between the various departments and the Beverly Place?
Actually, I think it would be better if we have Mr. Spalding do that, please.
Be the liaison?
Yes.
Okay, then I need to be a part of the committee.
Okay. Well, that's something that you can discuss with the committee itself.
Bring you a second.
So I'll second that motion with Mr. Spolnick as the town liaison. Mr. Westman, are we good?
I don't.
No, you're
No,
seconding.
that
my-
wasn't part of his motion. The following part was not part of his
Let's
motion.
try that again.
So we don't need to make him liaison
No,
in this
that means-
motion.
Yes, I was interjecting myself, so we're not.
So I
there
made my
doesn't need to be-
All right, I'll second the motion.
So now the motion is for Mr. Nellens to sign the agreement with the added language to the motion that there would be additional meetings with the town and or residents as necessary, not to exceed $8,000.
Yep.
That. I don't know that you can put the dollar cap on it because we've gone from one meeting to as required. So we probably need to have an adjuster in there that says, based on approval, additional meetings, which we'll have, but there will be an additional charge. Am I mistaken on that
I know, I was
interpretation?
repeating Mr. Schenken's motion. He said $8,000.
You're making it difficult. I'm not making it difficult.
I do think it's appropriate that we can't have a not to exceed $8,000 if in his contract it was one meeting, $8,000 maximum. He has listed in the standard fees and reimbursement that his principal landscape architect, I do believe he is the principal landscape architect, is $150 an hour. So I would imagine a meeting is going to be an hour, whatever. So I think we can, I'm comfortable with this, with the additional meetings, but we don't have to have a not to exceed. Maybe if you want to throw a $10,000 mark in there, not to exceed $10,000, We have
They're
a cap.
saying that the general services will be $8,000 plus any additional meetings will be charged at this charged.
I'm fine with how we
Reasonable.
want to say it.
'Cause I don't want to put anyway, I want everything to come out right and to have it.
George, you ready?
You're killing me.
You seconded it though.
Okay, I withdraw my
Okay,
second.
I'm gonna
Let's
make,
try
I'm gonna
it
make
again.
my third motion, authorize council president to sign the landscape architectural service proposal and Plant Environmental Associates and Landscape Services for any additional meetings and not to exceed $10,000. Good, for landscape assessment and design of the Beverly Place median bioswale and other areas within the town's right of way between home and state line.
All right, I'll second that.
That's all.
All right. Are there any further comments, questions?
Oh, let's get this
All
done.
right, let's call the roll.
All right, Counselor Schinkin.
Yes.
Counselor Hopper.
Yes.
Counselor Gardner.
Yes.
Counselor Peterson.
Yes.
Counselor Nellens.
Yes. All right, thank you. Letter M, Northcott traffic calming.
So in April, quotes were received for traffic calming on Northcott. This involves speed humps between, along Northcott between Ridge Road and River Drive. SCH reviewed the quotes, and the low bid is with site services. So we're asking for a motion to approve site services to do this work.
I'll make a motion to approve Site Services Incorporated for a total cost of $29,950 for the Northcott traffic calming bid awarded as recommended by SEH.
We have support.
I second that.
I have a motion support. Further questions?
Yeah, Mr. President, I would go back to your opening statement tonight. If we're approving this, and I think this is a good project to do, why are we reconsidering Forest Avenue and Terrace then?
Counselor Gardner, we are reviewing them all. We had discussions on this. And we did have it reviewed by SEH. And we're gonna review those other streets that you've asked about. There's one element that we need to talk about. And that is whether Terrace stays open to the state line and through. Because that will make a big difference in the traffic through that neighborhood.
Mr. President, I do want to weigh in here. It's my understanding that last year there was a group called the Speed Team. And my understanding, there were some notable admissions from that Speed Team, namely the Chief of Police, and I believe the Chief of Public Works. And Mr. Gardner, perhaps you can weigh in if I'm understanding that correct.
I think that's characterization. Lieutenant Broman was the police representative. And I believe there were, if it wasn't the interim director of public works, there were other people from public works involved. So I do think there was a multidisciplinary, multi-departmental group of people meeting.
Well, thank you for that confirmation. So I was correct in understanding that the Chief of Police and the head of Public Works were not part of this. And I think this is part of the concern. The Chief of Police is the Chief Public Safety Officer here in Munster. And I believe that on something like this, his voice needs to be heard. And specifically because there is no one-stop shop solution to concerns over speed. And the chief, with his many years of experience, and our public works director with his many years of experience, they are able, in my opinion, to weigh in and offer solutions that are, I believe, that will be fundamentally better than this solution by committee result that we've seen. I have a number of concerns, and I've heard from residents here tonight and otherwise about what has been done on Azalea and elsewhere. And part of that concern is that I don't believe the totality of the public safety issue has been addressed. And I believe that this is the way we get back to this is having these two chiefs as the principal point of offering suggestions to the council. So I would urge that when we have our conversation about these matters in the future, we also have a in-depth conversation about how recommendations for these types of devices and solutions appear before the council. And I would strongly urge that the two chiefs be the principal point of suggestion making to the council.
If I could correct, I believe Lieutenant Roman was acting as a response, as somebody from the police department. I would imagine that chief knew that he was at those meetings.
Right.
I also believe that the interim director of operations, Chris Spolnick, was not the public works director this time last year. I believe he was still involved in some of those meetings. And I do believe, director of public works at that time also was here at those meetings. And when that director of public works left, then the new director of public works, starting in November, was part of that process also. So I think we've had a multidisciplinary action. And I believe that the chief of police knew that Lieutenant Roman was going to those meetings. And I think if he felt that he should have been at those meetings, he could have told Lieutenant Roman, you don't go, I will go to those meetings.
Well, Mr. Gardner, I want to weigh in here. I want to respond to this. I have tremendous respect for Lieutenant Roman, but we were both at the agenda review, and I distinctly heard Chief Shekel make this comment. He felt, and I believe I heard this correctly, he felt that the decision-making for making these recommendations should come directly from the chief of public works and the police department. And notwithstanding the tremendous respect that I have for Lieutenant Roman, these are important decisions. These are decisions that affect public safety. These are decisions that affect the character and the characteristic of our community. And I think these are decisions because of those attributes, they need to be made by the top officials in those departments. So I offer that for the council to consider.
All right.
Is police chief?
Point of order, please. So open to the public is closed. I'm sorry.
So that's, again, I think traffic calming, I think speed humps on Northcock, I think is important. I guess I would also ask about these speed humps, that we do go back to the metrics of what streets we put these in. I know there was metrics. I know at one time they were being involved in the last year and a half. And I do think it's important that we take that streets that are closer to schools, streets that are closer to parks. I think streets that potentially are the cut through streets like a Northcott, I think those are more important than other types of streets. And I think the challenge with traffic calming is that we create a metric, a observation of how this all works. So we can treat all the streets the same, because I think once this gets out, I think everybody, and I think we see it, everybody speeds on the street in front of their house.
Yes.
But I think we have to have a good way to be able to approach these things. So we have a strong understanding of what streets get traffic calming and what streets don't.
I would concur with that. I would like to mention, since everybody else has mentioned their streets, I live on Ridge Road, and it should be nice to calm that speed through there too, but it's probably not real practical. Anyways.
Just reimagine Ridge Road.
Yes.
Talking about it.
Hold up. I live at the east end of Ridge Road, which is not part of the project. All right, so, Chief, we have talked about doing a survey on Northcott, on the speed bumps.
Traffic counts have been done, survey has not. We hope to have that done in a week.
All right, I'm just wondering if we shouldn't, pull this for tonight and bring it up in the next meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I move to table item M, the Northcott traffic calming recommendation to be considered a later meeting.
I'll second it.
We have a motion, we have a second. Call for the vote.
All right. The vote to table, Counselor Schinkin.
Yes.
Counselor Hopper,
Yes.
Counselor Gardner,
Yes.
Counselor Peterson,
Yes.
Counselor Nellens.
Yes,
You are at 5-0 to table the motion.
and again, that does not,
Table the.
yes, that does not mean that we're not considering the speed bumps on Northcott. We just want to make sure that we have everything in place, everything in line, and that we have agreement with the survey and the speed counts that it warrants it, as the matrix has talked about, so that we do it in a logical pattern.
And with the matrix, I think the piece that was put together recently, I think is a new matrix. I think if we find that Northcott doesn't meet that matrix, I think then something might be wrong with the matrix. Or the metrics or the counts of all that. So I think it's something that it's a work in progress, and I wouldn't want to hold up this project because it doesn't meet something. Because I think this is a street it's important that it gets done on.
Well, it's important to begin. I want to do it right locations and all that.
Mr. President, I do want to weigh in here. I would ask that when we consider this in terms of the totality of circumstances approach. We have also discussed hiring additional police officers, and police officers bring a traffic calming effect that is not often discussed. It is not often considered in these conversations.
All right, those are final comments on that. Item N is Ridge Road. And we have,
So the council approved a design contract with IEI to be their preferred consultant for this project. The council president and another member of council had a meeting with them and requested drawings be prepared. That's the most recent set of drawings that are presented this evening. Those drawings include 2 lanes of travel in each direction that are 10 feet wide, striped medians only, and a 10-foot multi-use path on the south side that is offset from the road. IEI, in their professional opinion, believe this is the bare minimum that Federal Highway might approve if it's put forward to them. They advise that adding additional safety elements will increase the chances that we can keep the funding. And that includes things like improved and updated traffic signals, LEDs, that type of thing, backplates, retroflective borders, better defined crossing areas, high visibility crosswalks, that kind of thing. Council's being asked to approve this most recent set of drawings on the basis to be submitted to Federal Highway and to allow the professional engineer to provide professional recommendations for how else to improve the road.
And there will be a biking path, correct? 10 feet?
That's the multi-use path.
Yeah,
Yes.
10 feet.
Yes,
That's a lot.
yes.
so the purpose of this is to be able to direct the engineering firm. This is the type program we're interested in.
To use these drawings as their basis, recommend other safety elements to go along with it. That set of drawings would come back to council to review. And at that point, it would get submitted to Federal Highways. But they need a basis to start from. And this is what's proposed based on what they understand that both council would accept and that Federal Highway might accept.
Okay. We have a motion, we have
Nothing.
no, we have nothing. We're looking for a motion and we're looking for support.
I'll make that motion to approve the drawing described in the memo to the council dated June 17, 2024 as a basis for submittal to the Federal Highway Administration and to allow IEI to use the professional judgment to include additional safety elements to the drawings and to submit the updated drawings to the town prior to submittal to the Federal Highway Administration and to direct the intern town manager to relay this action to IEI.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Further questions, discussion?
I guess I never really, heard it until tonight, but using the town of Munster and trying to do the bare minimum is really makes, it's so unlike what I've always been part of the town of Munster. I thought the town of Munster was always looking to innovate and improve and to be the town that other towns can look to. And to hear that we're just trying to do the bare minimum is really disappointing. I also find it hard to approve something tonight that isn't the final project that we're going to be presenting to the Federal Highway Administration. You know, this is potentially a 17 to 21 million dollar project.
Or more, it's more.
Substantial.
Substantial.
How do we know that?
How do you get your numbers?
Because that's the initial budget.
That's
The initial budget. But again, we have an initial budget that was worked on. So we don't have any documented information. And quite frankly, we're,
It's how do you start to get documented information? You have to agree
but we're
on
approving
something.
something tonight that is gonna be submitted to somebody else with additional information in it.
this.
Do we usually do that? That we're going to buy a truck, but we don't know what the items on the truck are gonna be. We'll just let the car dealership do that.
Mr. President, I can offer an explanation of this. My father is a builder. I have substantial building background. When you're proposing a major project, you start with plans. This is a proposal to repurpose what was before us and create a set of plans that then can be considered by the Federal Highway Authority and this council to move forward. Once we know that this is a proposal that the Federal Highway Authority might consider for approval for the grant, that puts us in a better place to actually start considering what the true cost would be. And I do want to remind the council, when this grant was submitted in 2022, we were using budgetary numbers from then. There has been substantial inflationary pressure on construction costs since then. That original proposal was in the realm of 21.5 million. My experience, which comes directly from builder clients and my father, who's a builder, have suggested that construction costs have increased by a factor of 25%. We are potentially looking at an all-in cost somewhere in the range of 24 to 28 million. So yes, we're not doing the bare minimum here. What we're doing is what we told the community. We told the community that we would seek to repurpose this grant to meet the needs of Munster. And that's what we're doing here tonight. And this is the starting point of that effort of repurposing the grant to meet the needs of Munster. And I think that this is something that we should move forward with.
I think those numbers that were just brought, how do we know what those numbers are? We met with IEI for about an hour in June or in January. And you and Mr. Nellens met with them actually without the rest of the council knowing about it back in April. There's never been any more discussion about budgets or anything else because we haven't got past this part. So I don't think it's appropriate that we talk about any kind of inflationary numbers or anything like that. What I'm saying is we're approving plans tonight that after we talk about them tonight, things are going to be added to these plans. I guess I would ask, is it appropriate that when these plans are added to, if this gets approved tonight, would we see a copy of the plans before they go down to the Federal Highway Group?
That's part of the motion.
Part of the motion.
It has to come back to council before it would be submitted to Federal Highway.
Okay.
And again, excuse me, Councilor, sorry to interrupt. This motion tonight is so that we're all knowledgeable of this. It's not just two counselors that are giving directions to IEI. It's the whole group or that part of the group that votes in favor of this. And this is not the final be all end all. We have to have a starting point of which we tell them, this is what we're interested in. They're going to come back with recommendations and modifications. And I just want to make a comment on the price or the value of this project. You're probably even more so aware of the fact inflation, what has gone up. Things don't from 22 to 24, and this project will be done in 25, maybe. that's gonna cost a lot more than what the figures were in 22. Is that agreeable?
I don't think so, because
I mean, as you're
you're
putting it that way.
you're gonna have a construction document. And once you start getting into budgeting and things like that, there might be, hey, there might be instead of 10 streetlights, there might be 4 streetlights, or it might be different benches or something like that. There's different ways to value engineer a project to make things work. But we haven't even gotten to that point.
That is
That's
correct. We
you know,
haven't
so-
got into that point, but as far as just the general concept of what's going on, we're anticipating the project being more. And excuse me,
Yeah,
as you
apologize.
mentioned, I don't want to do the bare minimum. And if we need 10 streetlights, we're gonna have 10 streetlights, but they come with a cost. That's all, and that's all this is just so that we have the program that we want to give to IEI, and that they know what to work with, because right now we've been dancing around. Is it 1 lane in each direction or 2 lanes in each direction? And that's what this is doing, is setting that this is gonna be 2 lanes in each direction. There's gonna be recommendations come back from IEI, what safety features need to be added. The whole program, and you will see those before they go to the federal government.
Will we have a chance to talk with IEI at that time?
Yes, we'll set up, yes. We'll have Dustin Quincy come.
Because again, there's some things I see in these plans right now. There is one street light that's taken out in the 3 light intersection between Harrison and Manor. You know, so I'd like to get a little bit more explanation about that, because that is really the problem spot on Ridge Road, is that 3 light intersection. And the right turns, left turns, I guess that's what I really am interested in hearing from IEI, because I think that's the items that are gonna slow down traffic and cause more traffic concerns than anything else.
And those are the parts that IEI has been struggling with because they did not have clear direction about the basis. And the basis that they're looking for is that council is okay with 2 lanes in each direction, striped median only, 10-foot wide lanes, and a 10-foot wide multi-use path. Everything else that they're gonna do, they're gonna be looking at all those conflict points, as they call them, and see how do we improve that? What can we do to make those situations safer, better? How do we improve the streetlights? How do we improve the markings? All of those things, that's what they'll be adding. And that will come back to council.
Again, I guess one of the final thoughts that I have is I am disappointed that we haven't had the chance to really talk through the plan, talk through really their initial traffic assessment. That once they were told not to provide the traffic assessment to the council anymore, and to really, we did review the data recently, but it's just strictly data, and we need evaluation and analysis of that data. It's very challenging to look at that. And again, I think this project really has a chance to really be innovative and really improve Munster from years on years. And also, these plans that we're looking at right now are really actually reducing the walkway in front of the stores from 12 feet that's currently to 9 feet. So now we're looking at less of a walkway. And I know these businesses are struggling right now because one of the reasons is that most of their traffic comes in the back door. And you have the front door where you're trying to advertise your business and everything comes to, you know, from the backside. And I think there's a challenge that what we're proposing here is actually giving less walkway than what this plan was really kind of talking about, is trying to create a walkable area. And I know people say, well, it's winter time in Munster, and who walks in November, December? I know those businesses rely on the person next door. If you're in a haircutting place, you rely on somebody going next door to get a nutritional drink or whatever else. Those type of next door businesses help out in walking from business to business. So I think we're trying to do the bare minimum. Unfortunately, I think that's not what the town of Munster should be about. I think the town of Munster should be really seeking what is put us above and beyond.
Mr. President, I've got to disagree. We're not doing the bare minimum. We're being very creative. To complete that thought, we're being very creative in adapting this process. We are, as we told the community last year, we are seeking to repurpose this project to meet the reasonable expectations of the community and keep the federal grant. And I think if, although there are aspects of this current proposal from IEI that I don't agree with, nevertheless, I think it is important for us to try and fulfill that commitment to repurpose this grant so that we can maintain the reasonable expectations of the community and also see if we can obtain that money as well. If we can't do those things, then we'll address that when that occurs.
Do we only get one?
We're not open.
I'm a designer.
But we're not open for
One
public
shot.
discussion. I'm sorry.
Feedback.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
We'll be here after the meeting for
I'll
sure.
be happy to
Mr.
talk.
President, I'm going to call the motion.
Ready for
I'm
a
ready
vote?
to call the motion, yes.
Counselor Schinkin made the motion. It was seconded by.
No. If it's a call, there needs to be a second to call the motion.
We already seconded it.
No, he's calling, end of discussion.
Oh,
Right?
I second.
Okay. All right,
Call on that first.
and then George Schinkin,
Yeah.
Counselor Schinkin, all
Yes.
right. Do we vote on that first then? All right. Counselor Schinkin.
Yes.
Counselor Hopper.
Yes.
Counselor, Gardner.
No,
Counselor Peterson.
Yes.
Counselor Nellens.
Yes.
And now we go to the vote
Yes.
on the original
The
motion
original motion.
that was made by Counselor Schinkin and seconded by Counselor, I'm just wanting to make sure I'm getting this right.
Right, yes.
All right. And Counselor Schinkin.
Yes.
Counselor Hopper.
Yes.
Counselor Gardner.
no,
Counselor Peterson.
Yes.
Yes. Please. All right. Takes us up to reports. And we have a report on purchase of speed pumps that would be portable and can be used somewhere that we think we want to have one and it can be tried. So that's basically, we've got the quotes here and it's an acceptance of this as an understanding as one option that can be proposed.
Mr. President, is this a report or does this require some kind of a motion? Here.
It's just
Yeah, requires a
acceptance of
motion. If you're gonna take action, if you're not gonna take action and it's just for information, it can just be presented.
Mr. President, I look for some guidance from you on this.
I'd like to see us purchase some of these units. To have one here.
Yeah, I do too.
And they can be deployed as needed to make sure that we've identified the right area. And they can then be replaced with a permanent unit or whatever the recommendation was.
Mr. President, I see a quote here in the amount of $18,690. Is that what you're contemplating?
There's actually two quotes.
And the second quote is. I'm sorry, Ms. Abbott, can you help clarify?
There's one.
Traffic logic or
Logic.
There's one for $18,690.
Second one's on the screen.
And the second one is for $17,230. The difference is some have arrows on them, some have rectangles on, they have different markings on them. But it would be purchasing 10 of each type, plus the special adhesive and a special fit that's needed in order to install them.
Mr. President, I'm going to make a motion. And Ms. Abbott, you can weigh in, or Mr. Weston, you can weigh in if I have to massage this. I'm going to make a motion to accept both of these proposals for the speed bumps and devices that are being offered as presented in report exhibit A.
and I'll second that.
Mr. Weston, is that going to work?
It works, I just wanna make sure, so I think there's 10 each one, right? So you'd be purchasing 20, and I just wanna make sure you understand. You know, it's 17,000 and 18,000 in round numbers. So your motion contemplates both.
Mr. President, is that what we're contemplating here?
Why don't we table this and?
Let's table this further discussion.
I withdraw this motion this time. We'll revisit it.
Any portfolio reports? Anyone has any portfolio reports to bring forward at this time? Okay,
I would like to announce that this Friday at Centennial Park, amphitheater, Then and Again, I believe is the band. It's the first Friday night concert of the year. So this, at 7 o'clock this Friday at Centennial Park.
Sponsored by the Munster Civic Foundation.
Oh, I'm sorry, sponsored by the Munster Civic Foundation. Thank you, Wendy.
And then Saturday, don't we have the trucks, the food trucks from 5 to 9, and we have a band?
There is some activity. I don't know what the park schedule is on. I think,
Yeah, 5 to 9, we have food trucks coming out, and we have a band and a beer garden.
at Centennial
It
Park.
might be it might not beer fest. It might be food fest Friday.
It's food fest.
It's food fest on Saturday. I'm sorry.
That's the 22nd?
Mhm.
Yes, from 5 to 9 at Centennial Park.
Who's the band?
Thanks, Charlie.
I don't know, live bands, the live music by the Elvis Diet,
They're good.
so.
All right,
Make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
I'll second
Who did
that.
that?
Chuck.
Chuck,
Seconded by Schinkin.
thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, any opposed, say no.
Aye. 8:38.
All right, and we have a following meeting, which is for the redevelopment commission, their regular
Everybody,
meeting.
we have another meeting that's starting.
I'd like to call to order the redevelopment commission regular meeting for June 17th. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Schinkin.
Here.
Commissioner Hopper. Here. Commissioner Gardner.
Yeah, here.
Commissioner Peterson.
Here.
Commissioner Nellens.
Present.
School Town Liaison John Castro.
Present.
Nice to see you.
All right, we have a,
Oh. Don't have the thing up on the, you'll get there. It's coming. We can keep rolling.
we do have a public comment available here in the redevelopment commission. Has the same comments as there was for the regular meeting. Is there anyone who'd like to come forward and address the redevelopment commission?
Oh, the timer, just a second, I'll get there.
Waiting for the clock.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm too far from the thing, so it takes me a minute. It's not highly responsive. There you go.
All right.
Good.
Yes, sir.
Hello, been here before. My name is Haas Fadamy, live at 1901 Fisher Street. Just a little background on me. 25 years of design experience. I'm a creative director. I work with construction. I work with police, fire, EMS at the University, Illinois Medical District. But I apologize for speaking out, but I just was asking just on, in terms of the Ridge Road project, which I'm for, and I know you can't comment on this, but if you submit to the federal government, is that like a one and done thing? Can they come back to us and say, no, this isn't gonna pass, you're gonna have to make changes? But I think when you work with this consultant, many of you have said you want their professional opinion, but then you counteract it saying you don't want their opinion or you don't believe in their opinion. So these are engineers, these are designers. You guys need to get together and figure out what the design challenge is, and then have them come with their best recommendation, and then you submit it. But if it's a one and done thing, if the feds can kill it, please find out before you submit to make sure the proposal is buttoned up as best as possible. Try to shoot holes in it, and just, hope for the best, but many of us are for the reimagining of the Ridge Road project. I think it would be great for business. It would give all those businesses along Ridge Road, an uptick in their brand appearance and just make it more welcoming and want to go into these places. So yeah, but that's it. That's my quick comment. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Is there anyone that'd like to speak forward to the redevelopment commission on redevelopment ideas? Seeing no one, I'll close the open to the public. That takes us to the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion for the consent agenda.
Second.
Support, any questions, comments? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Commissioner Schinkin.
Yes.
Commissioner Hopper.
Yes.
Commissioner Gardner.
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson.
Yes.
Commissioner Nellens.
Yes. We have no old business, no new business, no reports, no announcements. Call for adjournment.
I'll make that.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
With the second, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Same motion. All right, we're done.
Sign these.
Yeah.
John, thanks.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you for your offer to work on that problem.
Yeah.
You'll like it.
Thank you.
Should I get this to? Actually, probably Jonathan or Wendy.
Thanks.
Start working on it, I know. I'm gonna get them. Oh, okay. Okay. Very good.
think I know this. Yeah, there you go. In more trees that they blow there. Right. Yes, I mean, that's why we're talking about it.
Fred made two clips. Yeah. But this job here is famous
Somebody does these jobs, they go in all over. I mean, we get more color and kind of more product. But you look at the. Sure. Tell my friend if I'm sure I'll be around.